And we are live once again. Hello and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome to Do It Yourself Budget Hot Rodding. Okay, folks, we've been preparing, we've been searching, gathering the parts, and we are finally ready. That moment that we've been waiting for nearly 2 years. It's been almost 2 years. We are finally ready to convert Project Spirit from front manual drum brakes to front manual disc brakes. Exactly. So this is the moment that we've all been waiting for, okay? The last of the parts have finally come in. We went and picked up the last couple of odds and ends. So we have the splash guards from Mustang Unlimited. They're here. They're here now. We have all the brake lines that we need. We have the master cylinder. We have everything. Everything is in place to make this swap. Even went out today and picked up a couple of parts I didn't think I needed. But it was a good thing I double checked everything, okay? Probably should have drug everything in here, so I'm going to have to run and get everything to kind of show you what's going on. First things first, let's show off, because these are going on a car that is done for show. This is not necessarily, it's not going to be perfect, but it beats, well, I went ahead and painted, Princess Faye and I painted up the calipers. Now, we didn't do the traditional red like everybody else does in, when they do a custom brake system. We just went with Ford Blue in a high-temp VHT paint, okay? So that takes care of that, okay? And I don't necessarily suspect that that particular paint's going to stop it from rusting altogether. It's just there to slow it down. The truth of the matter is that this is an everyday driven car, and if I was really that worried about keeping them perfect, I would have sent them off for powder coating, but we didn't do that. Now, in the process of doing this, when I said that I had to pick up, an extra part, let me go ahead and take the bolt out from where the brake line hooks up. And so if you've got a Maverick and you're doing the same exact conversion, you're going to need to do the same thing. Okay. Basically, this conversion is that all the anchoring points for the spindle are identical from the Maverick to the Mustang. Now, where it gets a little different is when you're going to, going from the, putting the parts for a Mustang on a Maverick. Where it gets a little dicey is the brake system itself. And actually, believe it or not, the calipers for the Maverick and the Mustang are almost identical, with a couple of little differences, okay? So what we actually found is that when you do something like this, this will still connect into the Maverick's, metal brake lines, but it wouldn't connect in to the ones for the Mustang. As you'll be able to see right away, right here, it'll just barely touch right there, but it won't actually hook in. So the next solution was to go get a little fitting like this one right here. Get this little fitting, and it goes directly right in like that. If I can get my hands to work, it just screws right in. You torque it down. I'm not going all the way with it, but then this will connect right up to it. So it'll work. It'll work. And as you can see, that threads in, then this piece threads right on it, just like that. Problem solved. Okay. So that's the adapters, and that will simplify things. Okay. Because it's brass, I'm not going to leave it attached until it goes onto the car. Okay, so that particular part number, if you go to AutoZone, it will be BLF-23C, okay? And it's a dual master cylinder adapter. And it's about $5 at AutoZone, okay? Very useful, okay? Again, this is it, okay? We're in that final stage. Now, so that means the calipers are done. The splash guards that came in, they're already powder coated directly before they left Mustang Unlimited's warehouse. Now, again, this entire brake system is for the 70 to 73 Mustangs, which, ironically enough, again, the anchor points for the spindles are identical, okay? So they're identical. There's no guesswork there. So that means that okay, all I got to do is bolt everything up and put everything in place, okay? Except that it needed one other thing, which we'll get to in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and put that up. Now, from time to time, I'm going to have to step off camera, so bear with me. Here's one of the spindles, which what we did was we taped everything off on this, and that where there was going to be anchor points, and basically sprayed it with silver VHT paint. Now again, this is not going to permanently stop rust, okay? That's just the nature of having parts like this. But what it will do is at least slow it down. Again, if I was that worried about it, I would have sent it off and had it powder coated. But I wasn't. Well, number one, that's too expensive. Number two, I'm driving it every day, so it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. That's not to say that it's at a later date. I might not go ahead and decide to pull the front end apart and have that done with some of the various parts, because that can easily be cleaned up. But, so we're set there. Over there is one of the last rotors. I got to pull it off the shelf. The master cylinder is right over there, ready to go. And everything will hook right into each other. Again, I've spent the last couple of years massing these parts together. So we're at that stage where we'll be pulling off all the old and installing brand new. While we're also on this subject, let me run and grab some, I'm going to have to show you some of the harder work that we had to do. Okay, folks. All right, let's talk a little bit more. Okay, now, initially I was going to try to skip getting a splash guard, but it was suggested that I would be asking for trouble. So, if I did so. So what we went ahead and did is we ordered off 4 of the splash guards, which both of them are already here. That's them. And these are already powder coated. So I don't need to worry about that. These will bolt right on. Again, right directly to the spindles. There's your bolt holes right there. I see you. Anyhow, so they'll bolt directly on, okay? And to go along with this, there's a gasket that goes to these. Unfortunately, time has marched on. You can't buy the gasket anymore. It was just a paper gasket that went to these. And after watching another YouTuber that was doing a similar project, actually to a Mustang, I think it was a 69 Mustang, and he was doing something very similar. So what he did is he would make these gaskets, the gaskets that you can no longer get, out of cork. And that's exactly what Princess Faye has done right here. So that is ready to go. Okay, so one less thing to worry about. And she went ahead and made 2. So there's the 2. All right, so these are set. Again, you're going to run into things like this, folks, where certain things just don't exist anymore. So you have to go through and you have to make these parts yourself. To go along with that, it comes with this little retainer, this little metal shield that also hooks in all together to these pieces. I have both of them here ready to go. Again, both splash guards, and we are now in the final stages. Spike, you're killing me, son. You're killing me. Okay, so those pieces are ready to go. Okay, so also to go along with this, because this is a front disc brake conversion, one of the things that I want to thank 3rd Gen 83 for explaining this to me. He was kind enough to explain that because the pins on your outer tie rods are a little bit different, that I would definitely, he recommended that we get new ones specifically for the disc. So that's exactly what we did, which we have right here. And the reason being is the way that they did it on the old Fords was this has already got a coating on it, so I don't have to worry about it. But the pins are not quite, they're too long the other way. And yeah, let's see if I can do this right. The other ones were actually way, way, way longer, and this will screw in. I'm probably putting it in the wrong spot. Yeah. Yeah, I had it right the first time. Don't look at it enough, you know. And it'll bolt right in, tie everything up, and see, just like that. And then I can put, it's not super, super long, so it'll just bolt right up, right like that, and I can run the cotter key through. If I tried to reuse the old ones, the problem with that is that the cotter key wouldn't do this nut any justice, okay? So that's why it was suggested that I do this. Also, Mustang Unlimited had also said pretty much the same exact thing. But 3rd Gen 83 was, again, super, super instrumental in this knowledge, because there was a lot of stuff that he was very dead set making sure that I knew before I dove too far into this project. Okay, so that piece is ready to go. Okay, so we're set to go there. To go along with that, folks, I don't know why some people still insist on getting the sealed, the stupid sealed outer tie rod ends, or any part that front ends need grease. Okay, over time, you know, these the grease will work its way out, and before you know it, you know, you got parts that are failing you. Okay, and this started way back in the 70s. Well, we discovered, aftermarket companies discovered that the best thing to do is put a little grease fitting on it, which is right there, along with a new cotter key. Okay. Now, this little grease fitting will fit right there. I can pump grease into this once every 6 months, ensuring that this part lasts me a very, very long time. This is just logic, folks. This is just simple common sense. Now, what do I need a cotter key for? Well, let's see. The camera's going to pick it up. Basically, that key will go through here. You bend, and it holds it all in place. And of course, it slides right through the slots on the nut here. Okay. allowing to hold it in place, keep that nut from backing off. And it's a simple system that has worked since the beginning of time. Okay, so this is nothing that a lot of us gearheads haven't seen before. All right, so again, now because we are dealing with old parts on Project Spirit, we're dealing with parts that go all the way back to 1974 when she was built in November of 74, which, by the way, next month is Project Spirit's birthday. Okay, so so here's one of the new outer tie rod ends. We have two. Thank you very much. So that takes care of that. Because we are dealing with old parts, we went ahead and opted to go ahead and get the adjustment sleeves as well. Now this adjustment sleeve goes right on the steering arm, all that good stuff. And we'll tighten up, keep everything nice and held together. Which will be the first time y'all get to see me take this out for the first time. Again, when companies coat these, I don't, it's one less thing to worry about, okay? And basically this adjustment sleeve allows us to decide how long or short this piece is, okay? We'll tighten everything up and everything is hunky-dory, okay? Just like that. And we went ahead and decided we're going to replace both Project Spirit's adjustment sleeves for her outer tie rod ends that connect into her steering arm. So we're in those final stages, which eventually we're going to do a brand new center link for, and we're going to be replacing a lot of steering stuff, but that's down the road at least another couple of months. The main thing right now is to get this brake system lined out where Project Spirit won't kill me if I have to go jam on the brakes and one side heats up quicker than the other. And then on top of that, we got that old, the old hub on her passenger side. Sometimes in videos, you can hear it thump, 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 because it's wearing out. Again, for the record, this is one of these parts that every time I go in and I would ask about this particular part, a lot of auto parts places would say that's a non-wear item. And then I'd have to look at them and say, well, I guess after 43 years, it wore out. And then they kind of, well, I guess it did, It's like, so because of that hub and everything, I initially did not want to change out, do a front disc brake conversion. Because I like the way, I've gotten used to the drums. I get into Project Lena and I give us all a brake check for the, every time you have to stop for the first 5 minutes in there. Now, if anybody, before anyone asks, am I going to eventually convert Project Spirit over to Power Brakes? At this point in time, there is no plans to do so. That's not to say that I won't do it, but for right now, I'm not interested, okay? Let's just get this over with first, So, basically, we'll have manual disc brakes compatible with the 1970 to 73 Mustang. Now, after looking at some of these parts, some of you might be asking questions. Okay, Prince Magnum, I mean, granted, this will all bolt up, but why didn't you go with the Maverick setup? Okay. Well, number one, it's hard to get stuff for the Mavericks. Mustangs, very easy to get stuff for. So this will also ensure, in a way, that I will always have an aftermarket available to me, okay? Whether I want to go stock, go mild custom, or go ridiculous custom, Project Spirit has an aftermarket completely available to her by doing this setup, okay? So we're looking at a lot of that. And I mean, if I go in and say I need, brake parts for a 1970, 70 to 73 Mustang, chances are an auto parts place is going to be able to get it. But if I go in and say I need parts for a 1974 or 75 Maverick, yeah. And most of the time, uh, Mustang is pretty well on the shelf, or you can get it later that day. For Maverick, you're going to have to wait anywhere from a day all the way up to 2 weeks just for those parts at your local auto parts place. So it makes sense to go with parts on your project that you can easily get. And this is again one of the reasons why I was okay with swapping this out, swapping that out, and everything. So um, I'm very happy with how this is going. Again, we're at that stage where Project Spirit will have a nice setup after it's all said and done with. Now, thankfully, the rotors will work just fine. And yes, I already fit those together to make sure. Okay. So the rotors will be just fine. Um, Everything will bolt up. Everything's ready to go. Okay. So we're at that stage. Come tomorrow, right after I clock out from work, I will be running picking up a little bit more brake fluid, which we already have. Um, we already have quite a bit of brake fluid, but I want to make sure that we've got more than enough. And thankfully, even if we have too much, we could still use it over time. And Project Clean It uses the same exact DOT3 brake fluid. So I buy cheap on this one. I mean, it's brake fluid. If it was engine oil, I'd be a little bit more particular, but it's just, Also, at the same time, I stopped by and seen our friends at Rural King today while I was picking up that adapter piece, and they were able to hook me up with grease for my grease gun because we're going to have to grease some fittings once this goes into place. And at the same time, we're also going to have to grease those wheel bearings. Folks, this is super important. You really should every 6 months pull that apart and repack those bearings full of grease. If those bearings decide to give out, all of this work was for nothing. It'll take the tire, it'll take the tire, the wheel, the rotor, it'll rip the caliper off, it'll tear everything up. Basically, it'll look like something out of a cartoon. I'll be going like this, the wheel will be going like that, and within seconds of that, it'll be a nasty accident. So, Project Spirit will get regular maintenance on this. So I would also suggest you do the same, okay? Do the same exact thing. This is super important, folks, maintaining your vehicles. That's why Project Spirit has lasted as long as she... Oh, been drinking root beer. Well, cream soda. That's why she's lasted as long as she has, is because she had been maintained. We used to take pride in our vehicles like that. While I was also at Rural King, I got me a vanilla caramel cream soda. Good stuff. About $1. Good stuff, Maynard. Okay, so that covers all of that. So we have all the odds and ends. Everything's set to go. All we got to do is load it up. And once this live stream ends, I'll be loading every last piece I can think of into Project Spirit, be throwing it in her trunk, boxed up, ready to go. All that has to be done is taken over to see my good buddy T-Bone. We'll get her up in the air. Well, get her front end up in the air, off the ground. Tires, wheels come off, and everything old that we can replace, that I have replacement parts for, comes off, and all the new goes on. Okay. Now, while we're also on the subject of doing this, I also want to take a moment. When you are doing a front disc brake conversion, you might also want to consider the fact that the pressure load for disc brakes is different than what they are for drum brakes. So you're definitely going to need to get new lines, okay? The lines that are going into this system will be able to withstand more pressure than the old ones. And I mean, we're already in there. Even if we were just replacing the parts, I would still feel comfortable going ahead and doing a swap on these as well. Okay, replacing these hoses. This is just general common sense. Okay, you know, again and again and again, you hear me say, you know, keep up with your vehicles. That's how they last. That's exactly what I'm telling you now. Okay. Again, make sure you maintain your vehicles. If you don't, they break down, they end up in a junkyard, and you're out all the time and effort that you spent, you know, paying it off. Okay. Something to be said about that. Vehicles that once you pay them off, you can enjoy them for a while. Life expectancy for a vehicle should be no less than 10 years. 15 years is better, okay? 20 years is phenomenal. You know, you should be able to get at least 10 to 15 years out of your vehicle. If you're having to get rid of it after 7, you bought a bad vehicle, okay? Period. All right. So that's where we are at on Project Spirit. She's she's ready to go. Okay. Again, part of what I'll be doing tonight is preparing for the trip tomorrow. Here, real quick, while we're on the subject, we've already briefly talked about this, and I've showed the work on it, but we're going to go ahead and do it anyways. So I'm going to come over here and grab the master cylinder, and I have not opened this up in a while. It's just kind of sat on the shelf the last couple of years, but here you go. All right. This is our master cylinder for Project Spirit, which will also have to go out to the car tonight. And again, the Ford VHT paint, okay, that the Ford blue. Am I expecting that it's going to keep the rust away? Not really. You know, am I hoping that it slows it down at least? You betcha. Okay. Remember, she's daily driven. Okay. And I don't, you know, if I was that worried about it, I would have sent it off, had it powder coated. Okay. Now, something else that needs to be said about this particular project. Make sure when you get one of these, you've got one of these. Okay. Now, if you've got a brake booster, this is still going to be on the back of your brake booster for your power brakes, and there'll just be like a little nub that connects in here. No big deal, okay? But if you're like me and you're rocking the old manual brakes like this, you're going to need this rod. Connects in right here, okay? So make sure you get that piece, okay? Don't, you know, which Third Gen 83 was kind enough to tell me in one particular instance, he actually had to buy, when he was doing his conversion and everything, he had to buy a particular, he actually went and bought a complete master cylinder just for that part. So today, thankfully, a lot of companies will already have that packaged up for you. So there we have that. As a matter of fact, again, I think this is manufactured. I'll be able to tell you here in a second who it came from. AutoZone. Okay. Again, I want to thank AutoZone, Farmington, and Deloge for helping me amass a lot of parts. I want to thank Farmington O'Reilly's and Deloge O'Reilly's for helping me get some of these parts together. Thank you so much, guys. I want to thank Napa Auto Parts for also helping over in Farmington. Believe it or not, also, let's see, STL Mustang for much of their knowledge. Thank you so much, guys. And I also want to thank Mustang Unlimited for providing like the, you know, the really hard to find parts, like the caliper brackets, the spindles. Without the spindles, we wouldn't even be talking about this yet. and the splash guards. Those three things are next to impossible to find. Okay, so I want to thank every last one of them. Matter of fact, tonight, even finding that right fitting, I want to take a special moment and thank young Tristan and Dave. There's a guy named Dave, and then there's a guy named Tristan. Both of them actually have helped me a great deal find. Okay, there we go. Um, Sorry about that. Princess Faye calling to let me know she's on her way home from work. Okay, so we have everything. The next few minutes, we're going to go ahead and end this live stream. Nobody on, anyways. Most normal people are already in bed. So we will. Let's see what time. Yeah, most normal people are already in bed. Probably should have done this earlier, but was out and about getting these parts together and getting a few odds and ends. I'll be stopping by Dollar Tree in Farmington tomorrow to pick up the last of the brake fluid. I'm figuring I'll be in there at about 1:30, about 2 o'clock. I'll be in Ironton at my buddy T-Bone's saying hi to his mom and dad, who are like a mom and dad to me. And we'll be tearing this stuff off and putting the brand new on. Okay. I would like to tell you all that we would be live streaming some of this, but that won't be possible. Princess Faye is going to be out of town tomorrow, and the phone that we use for the live streams won't be with us. Won't be there to do this, so we're going to have to record. We'll record as much as we possibly can, and I'll walk you through everything that we do in a recorded video. So if anybody else decides to do this same project on their Maverick, looking at you, my buddy over there on BST Ford channel, you'll know what to do, okay? It's the hardest part is finding the parts. That's the hardest part. Real quick, while we're on the subject of doing this conversion, how I got this knowledge, how you can go over to the Mustang setup, was there's a particular gentleman, and I forget his name, that works at Mustang Unlimited. They're one of their tech guys. He worked on Mustangs all his life, so he's got a great deal of knowledge. When I called, I basically, started asking the questions. I know there's a spindle that will adapt to the Maverick from the Mustang and vice versa. And I said, the guy that answered the phone, he said, I haven't got a clue, but I know who does. So they put me in touch with this gentleman, and I forget his name now. And he's like, he started explaining to me that, well, you can go to this place. And I said, no, I've got everything. Everything's going to be right off the shelf, just as it would, just like anybody else. I said, and I explained to him the YouTube channel and everything. He said, we got the spindles. And he said, you can actually upgrade on this. And I was like, perfect. And, evidently now there's a company that makes the complete set for the Ford Granada. And I'm like, well, shoot, that would have been easier than what I've been doing. But in the long run, I mean, I'm going to have a lot more surface area. Basically, I'm going to have a bigger aftermarket than I did before. So in that regard, this was the better deal. Okay. This is going to be cheaper in the long run than what I was trying to do. So overall, again, I want to thank Farmington AutoZone, Farmington O'Reilly's, and Farmington Napa Auto Parts. I want to thank Deloge AutoZone and Deloge O'Reilly's. I want to thank Mustang Unlimited and STL Mustang for all of this information. And I also want to thank Third Gen 83 for giving me so much knowledge. He was really worried about this conversion. He's sitting there going, you're going to have parts that, you're going to go in to get replacement parts for this eventually. And it's going to be like, well, I need this part, this part, this part, this part, and they're going to not know what to do. I said, they're used to that already. He's like, oh, okay, if they're used to it, then, that sort of thing. Then that, I guess that, no big deal, right? So we talked about that. We had a big laugh about it. This is going to be exciting. So, all right, I'm starting to ramble. I've got to stop myself. Just a lot of information. We will be doing a recorded video for this. And again, I will walk you through as much as I possibly can through every step of the way. We're going to try to make it as self-explanatory as possible. And at the same time, not only are we going to make this as self-explanatory as possible, but we're also going to explain everything overall, why this is so much better than what we were trying, than running the old drum setup. Okay, so that's where we stand. Let's get ready to shut her down because I've got parts to load. Okay, poor Spirit. This stuff is not light. Okay, they didn't build stuff light back in the day. Okay, they didn't. But I guess that's why it lasted so long. Throw that one out. All right. So, all right. Real quick. Again, the first tier for my Patreon account has been set up. If you want to become a member of the High Mileage Club on the Prince Magnum channel, subscribe to the Patreon account. $1 a month, and you are a high mileage member. And if you will, you're taking out stock in the Prince Magnum channel, meaning that you've got a lot more. You have a lot more input than just the average member of the Maverick Nation. Also, as we're continuing forward here, be sure if you enjoy do-it-yourself budget hot rodding, which it's going to get rebranded here very soon. But if you enjoy do-it-yourself budget hot rodding, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you like other stuff that we also do, be sure to also hit the subscribe button. And while you're at it, you might want to hit the bell icon. That way you'll be notified every time we upload a brand new video, okay? Also, be sure if you want to see more content like this, where we walk through, explain what's happening, explain why we're doing what we're doing, and just see kind of hot rodding as it used to be for me in the late 90s, or in a modern day. You definitely want to hit that like button for this video, okay? So that covers all of that. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Facebook. If you follow me on Facebook, you get to see more of a personal Prince Magnum than you do any other time. Also, while we're also on the subject of Project Spirit, before I forget, big special shout out to a couple of subscribers to the Prince Magnum channel who are now taking Spike off of our hands. Spike is getting ready to be an Illinois kid. He's going up to a couple of subscribers in Illinois. They're going to take good care of him. He's going to be well loved, have a new happy home, and want to thank them. And they better bring their shades because I plan to get as much video footage of the trip, of seeing a couple of subscribers abroad, and that will all begin happening not this Saturday, but Saturday, November the 3rd. Princess Faye and I will be leaving out in style, Project Spirit, going to see a couple of subscribers to hand off Spike. And of course, I'm sure that they'll also send us video footage and pictures to keep us updated on how Spike is doing, because I know all of you in the Maverick Nation love Spike a great deal. You love him as much as we do. All right. So, brings us to that usual spot. As always, get out there and work on a project. Don't care what it is, just do something with yourself. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet. Do something special for them today. And as always, for all of you out there, if no one out there has told you that they love you, Prince Magnum does. God bless you and have a happy 24. Thank you.